And it's amazing, shocking, and almost surreal for me to be here for my 10th media kickoff. It's a great honor and it's humbling. I want to say thank you to everyone for all that you do for Big Ten football. And I also want to welcome our three new coaches, obviously Jim Harbaugh to Michigan, and Mike Riley to Nebraska, and Paul Chryst to Wisconsin. Obviously, two of the three have great Big Ten roots and Big Ten ties, and I want to welcome them back to the league, and welcome Mike, who I've known for a number of years. I think for all of us, it's football time, and how about with that, we open it up to some questions.
If you have a question for Coach, please raise your hand, and we will get a microphone over to you. We'll start on this side of the room, Coach, on our left toward the middle.
Coach, obviously you guys had your 20th anniversary from your Rose Bowl team. What experiences from that did you share with your football team today?
Yeah, I haven't shared a ton with them yet from a standpoint of the exact Rose Bowl reunion weekend, but that'll be some things that I'll share with the guys during camp. You know, for myself, I get a great opportunity to see most of my teammates on a frequent basis, but there were a handful of guys that I hadn't seen in a number of years, and we had a Friday and Saturday event, and by about Wednesday that following week, my wife Stacy looked at me and she's like, "Wow, you look tired." And I'm like, "I wasn't out that late, you know, we were hanging out, but we weren't like we were back in college." And it kind of dawned on me a little bit. I wasn't anything but just emotionally drained of seeing guys again and reconnecting, and the bonds that we had and the brotherhood that we have. And those will be the things that I'll share, you know, with the team when we get going. I think the hallmark of those teams that I played on when we had the great success and went 15-1 in the Big Ten was that brotherhood and the chemistry. And, you know, we loved each other. We didn't all like each other, but we loved each other. And I think, again, where we're at right now as a program, you know, you look at all the close games when we went to 5 straight bowl games that we won, and now to look at the last 2 seasons, and that was one of our hallmarks. We won those games the last 2 seasons. We haven't done that. You know, I really think that glue that keeps it all together is that brotherhood and chemistry, and that's not forged during training camp. That's forged when that team is born in January all the way through training camp. So there'll be a lot that I'll share, but it's not uncommon that I don't share that with them, you know, daily anyways.
Coach, our next question will come from Teddy.
Hey, Fitz. Coach Harbaugh was just out there talking about getting to know you when you were out at his camp. What did you learn from him, and what inspired you to go out and be, I think, the featured speaker there?
Yeah, Teddy, well, Jim asked. That's the reason why I went. You know, it fit my schedule. It almost didn't. My flight going up there was delayed, and if you recall, that was Game 6 of the NHL Finals. So there was no doubt I needed to be back in Chicago for that game. It's no secret I'm a pretty large Blackhawks fan. So my flight, I didn't think I was going to make it. You know, we sat at O'Hare for 2 hours. A thunderstorm went through, and I literally went. Rick Finati, his great DFO, picked me up. We went from the airport basically up and spoke, and I got on a plane and went right back. So didn't get a lot of time to spend with Jim, but we've seen each other on the recruiting trail back when he was at Stanford, and we've known each other for a little while, and I've got a ton of respect for not only the job that he's done as a coach, but, you know, remember his playing ability, and especially here as a Bears fan, you know, how can you forget him as a quarterback of the Bears? So great to have him back in the league, and like I said, the other two great coaches too. Great to see Paul back, and great to have Mike at Nebraska.
Floor is open. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get the microphone right over to you.
This is like the awkward pause, you know.
It's too early in the morning, I think. Our next question is here in the middle.
You guys get worn out asking
right.
Jim questions? Is that you guys still typing?
We'll actually go all the way to the back of the room, Coach, with this next question on the aisle.
Over the past 3 years or so, would you say there's been a pretty interesting rivalry brewing between Northwestern and Nebraska?
Well, we're 1-2, so I wouldn't call that interesting. I'd probably call that disappointing from our perspective. You know, and I'll go back to the relationship that I had with Bo and his staff. You know, those were, I mean, backyard, you know, street fight games that we've been in the last 3 years. And we've been successful in one, and, you know, we've had opportunities in the other 2. You know, I said it when Nebraska came into the league internally that, you know, especially I assumed that we were going to go to an East and a West. That was going to be the team that, in my opinion, you know, outside of the traditional teams in our conference that is going to be the beacon that we're going to have to try to become to win a Big Ten championship. And I think I've been right on. You know, the atmosphere out there on game day is you know, it's special. And you know, I think we've been out there twice now, and this will be year 3. So it's a great place, and it seems like it's been fun for our fans. I mean, I even saw something where there was like a debate on who's NU. You know, I mean, it's cool. It's what college football is all about.
Next question, Coach, is down on our right toward the front.
Yeah, Coach, with the success of the Big Ten last year in bowl games, do you sense a buzz that maybe wasn't around a year ago just about the conference and maybe the shift in the national scene?
Well, you know, I think how your league is perceived really depends on, first of all, who do you play in the non-conference and when? And when you look at the Big Ten, the way that things are structured currently, you're going to have 4 weeks worth of an evaluation from a national perspective on where our conference is at based on head-to-head matchup games with Power 5 teams. And then we'll go through the Big Ten gauntlet, and then we'll have that same evaluation happen then in the postseason. And if we have a bad weekend, you know, in the non-conference schedule, you know, for example, obviously we're playing 2 important Power 5 games for the perception of our league. You know, a very daunting, challenging game against Stanford and Duke. But, you know, and this is no disrespect, but I doubt we're going to get the same credit if we beat Eastern Illinois and Ball State as you'll give us if we beat, you know, Duke and Stanford. And I get it and I understand all that, but I think that that's what shapes the narrative of the conference, or those individual Power 5 matchup games. And then if things are going great and you have a great non-conference schedule in those matchups, then you go into bowl season that you are the conference to beat in bowl season. And then the narrative changes based on how you do in about 3 or 4 or 5, 6 games. And then we go through the whole offseason and say, wow, look at this conference, and they're up and they're down. And I don't know, I'm a little jealous of you guys. It's kind of fun to watch. I don't get to watch it unfold, you know, and it's, as a fan first, it's awesome. It's what makes college football special.
Coach, we'll go to the back of the room here on our left for our next question. You can raise your hand real high for our mic holder. There you go.
Pat, Nancy Armour from USA Today Sports. There's been so much attention about Jim coming back to Michigan. Is that good for the rest of the Big Ten? And you know, does it kind of, I don't know, maybe up the buzz about the league a little bit? You
know, Nancy, I think there's that old saying, you know, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? You know, so I'm sure, and I don't want to speak for Jim. We haven't spoken about it, but I'm pretty sure he's excited to probably go coach his team. You know, there's a lot that's probably been on his plate in this offseason, and you know, typically as a coach, you want to get around your guys and coach your team, and you know, I'm sure he's handled it incredibly well. I haven't followed it that close. I just followed him outside. I told him I was going to get in the back of the media horde and start asking him some questions about my talk up at his camp and see if he remembered anything I said and put him on the spot a little bit. But it is what it is. You know, he had a great playing career. You know, the success that he had at all of his stops speaks for itself. And you know, I wish him all the best of luck, except for one game. It's against us. So I'd say the same thing about all the coaches.
The floor is open right now. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Time for a couple more.
Do I have to wait for you, Teddy, or can you shout it out? Okay, go ahead.
He's got to wait for the mic.
Oh, you got to wait for, oh, see.
Yeah, this is
just
official.
like at home. It's like last year. 2 demerits.
Fitz, when do you think you'll name a starting quarterback, and what did you see from maybe all 3 guys in the spring?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised it took this long for that question. But, you know, we've been here before. You know, you go back over our time when we've had quarterback change. We've got a pretty good blueprint on how we go about doing the evaluation. You obviously got the statistical side that we have plenty of information from spring, and then that will kick back in here when we start up, you know, a week from Monday, you know, back on the field. You know, from a standpoint of where things were at, from a general standpoint at the end of the spring, as we broke everything up into thirds on the field, there wasn't a clear separation. Did Mick and I want to have that separation happen? Yeah, we would have loved to have it happen, but it didn't. And we'd rather have it happen organically than to force something. And at this point, we're not ready and prepared to inject right now and be forceful either, because all 3 guys have had a good summer from a leadership standpoint. I think they're all in really good shape, and now we're going to roll the ball out and let it play. we will then also have off-the-field evaluations, you know, and a lot of that has to do with, all right, now that we're in camp and now that we all know September 5th is coming, who's truly going to be the guy that walks onto the field, you know, we don't huddle, as you know, and make the other 10 guys on the offense better? And who's going to raise the level of our offense, which if we want to get to our goals, that has to happen. I'd love to have that happen in the first week. Will it? I don't know, and I don't want to put that type of expectation on that process. And then we're going to talk to the rest of the guys, especially on the offense. I mean, you know, when you got young men coming back like Vitale and Jones and Mogus, and I can keep going on with some of our seniors, you know, Mick and I will have candid conversations with those guys privately on who they feel and who they trust the most. And I think that subjectivity has, you know, obviously as a coach, you got to trust your gut and your experiences and all that. But, you know, I think Mick and I do a pretty good job of listening to the team and what they think is best. And that we've used that in the past, and it's been a pretty good indicator, you know, who do the guys truly trust? You know, because that goes back to the time, Teddy, in the locker room, in the apartments, you know, all the little things that we don't all see that really makes a difference. So when it's 3rd and 4 and he gets in the huddle and says, hey, listen, we're going with this concept, and if I don't like it, I might check the play, or I'm throwing it to you now, Teddy, even though the concept says go over there. There's that type of trust built up. And, you know, I think all three of those guys have those type of qualities, but somebody's got to emerge and separate themselves.
We'll stay right down front here, Coach.
Fitz, the recruiting cycle has sped up considerably the last couple of years around the country. Sophomores committing now. Right. How does that affect your program when not only do you have to monitor whether they're going to develop athletically, but whether they're going to be able to, you know, meet admissions at Northwestern?
Well, it puts a lot on our coach's plate from a standpoint of getting now, you know, it used to be the 5th semester transcript. Now you're getting the 4th and 3rd semester transcript. And that's a pretty good early indicator of where the young person's going to be academically. You know, but from our standpoint, you know, we can't talk about admission status until after the 6th semester on our campus. So, you know, it's the old risk reward for us from a standpoint of, you know, if the kid fits our profile after three semesters of high school, we've got to put them on our list now initially. So maybe where 5-10 years ago our pool was really tight and really small, now as you're looking at that sophomore class, you can't be too quick to judge and too quick to evaluate, because there is half, you know, for at least our admission standards, there's at least half of their academic credentials ahead of them. And then I have a real hard time doing a character evaluation of a young man that doesn't have a license yet. You know, I don't know, my whole life changed when I got a car, you know, and the good news is there was no Twitter and Snapchat and cell phones. And that's a hard thing for kids today. I mean, and I'm not feeling sorry for them. It's a life that they live, but there's so many choices that are made kind of that 16 years old to 18 years old that, you know, a lot of scrutiny has been put on college coaches for who we recruit, and it's appropriate. We should. We control that and who we bring into our cultures and who we bring onto our campuses and who we bring into our programs. But with the acceleration of recruiting and not having earlier access to those recruits, you've got to really be diligent, and you've got to have your checks and balances. Otherwise, you could set yourself up, especially at a place like ours, you know, for really wasting your time on a prospect that maybe 6 months later won't fit your program.
Time for one more question. Okay, Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Have a great remainder of the kickoff. Go Cats.
Oh, there's no doubt Pat Fitzgerald, Northwestern, disappointed by last year. He talked so much about those close losses, and I'm wondering, Mace, based on what you heard, if you think they have the personnel to reverse that, go back to the games that they won a couple of years ago when they were on their bowl streak.
Pat Fitzgerald, 10 years, unbelievable. And I see a change in him right now during this press conference. Typically, and this is not a criticism, he used to give canned answers. He was a lot more at ease. I feel that he has a confidence in this team more than maybe some of the other teams.